Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Charlotte and today I'm showing a video that I've wanted to film for a very long time. I think the reason why I've never filmed this video is because I don't really know what I should say or how I should formulate what I'm feeling and what I want to pass on to you guys. Going through something like infertility is so personal. I haven't shared our story here on YouTube at all really. I've shared bits and pieces over on my Instagram, but apart from that, I haven't really been very vocal about infertility, and I think that's a shame because whilst I was going through my entire experience, I felt like no one really talked about infertility. Why was no one talking about infertility? Now I know that there are loads of accounts, especially on Instagram, that I've found where women are showing their journey with IVF or trying to conceive naturally. Today I want to share our journey, our story with infertility, in hopes that if you are going through this and you've stumbled upon this video, I can give you hope. I feel like for a while I've been kind of scared to film this video because at the end of the day, if you guys have been following along, I did fall pregnant. I fell pregnant naturally after 15 months of trying, and I feel like sometimes 15 months isn't that long, but at the same time I think it's so important to share my story as well because I think every story is important. Where do I start? I've always been someone who has wanted to have kids. It has always been my biggest dream. When I was a child, I did not dream of my wedding, I dreamt of being pregnant. Like, it's always been something deeply rooted inside of me that I've known my role in life is to be a mum. I never second guessed that it would be hard for us. I never thought for a second that we would struggle with infertility ever. My parents never did. In my family, there are only very few cases of people who struggle to conceive. Normally the case is that people conceive too quickly, if you know what I mean. So I was not scared at all about conceiving or whether we were gonna have babies or not. My husband and I decided to start trying for a baby in November 2019. And it was like one of those things of like so much joy. We were so excited, we couldn't wait. And I was very leisure about it. Like, I didn't want to put too much focus on the whole thing. In the summertime, I want to say maybe like May or June, I decided to take my first ovulation test, and I was so confused as to what that would even mean. I had no idea about the whole world of ovulation tests and checking your cycle and all that stuff. I had no idea about any of that. So I did an ovulation test and it was bright. Like, it was like, you are ready to go today. And we tried to conceive then and it didn't work. And I found that very confusing. After taking that ovulation test and not conceiving, we sat down and we decided two things when it came to intervention. The first one was that until the end of 2020, I was not going to go to the gynecologist. We were just going to ride it out, see if we would conceive naturally, and then in January 2021, I would go ahead, go to my yearly appointment and ask my questions there. The second thing was that we decided that we were not going to go and turn to IVF or anything like that until we were 30. We wanted to give God the time to work in us. We didn't want the intervention of IVF because we really strongly and heavily relied on the fact that the Lord was going to bless us with a child, and it paid out, as you guys will hear in a minute. I knew that the Lord had placed the wish of being a mum into me when He created me, and I knew that He heard our prayers, heard our cries. He knew that we wanted a child, and I felt, and my husband, we both felt that IVF intervention was not the way to go for us. I'm not saying that it's not the way to go for everyone. If you decided to go for IVF, then that is totally your decision. I just knew for myself, I'm not at that point yet. I was only 25. I conceived when I was 26. So that was so young. During this whole experience, my prayer became, it is your will, not my will. It is your way, not my way. It is your time, not my time. So through the whole experience, I knew God is much bigger than anything that I want. And if we're not conceiving right now, it's because He has a better plan for me. If we're not conceiving right now, it's because He has a better time for us to conceive, or He has a different plan for my life than I have. And so I just placed everything before Him. And saying that, that wasn't easy. In January 2021, we had been, going for over a year, and our church does a 24/7 prayer for 3 weeks in January, and they build this beautiful room and everything. So I went into that prayer room and I sobbed for an entire hour. And I remember just saying to God, like, why am I not pregnant? I don't understand. I don't get why. He spoke to me so clearly in that prayer room saying, you will understand when it's the time. And it's interesting because I think I'm still understanding why it was the time. There are things that make sense to me, things in my personal life that I'm like, oh yeah, obviously. It's so nice that when we rely on God, we don't have to understand why our wishes weren't granted. And He's not a God who grants wishes. He's a God who hears our prayers and sometimes fulfills our prayers, but sometimes He doesn't. And that has nothing to do with something that we can understand. He has a much bigger plan for our lives. I want to say that to you right now. If you're going through infertility, if you're not conceiving, I know it might feel like you want to distance yourself from God. I know it might feel like you want to blame Him. I just want to tell you, God has a big plan for your life, something that you cannot even imagine, so much better than all your dreams. And although it might feel right now like what you're not getting is destroying your life, is, you know, giving you emptiness, rely heavily on Him and He will sustain you. God is good and everything that He does is good. Just speak it. Even if your heart and your mind don't believe it, speak it over your life. God is good and He has a plan for your life. Whatever is going on at the moment in your life, He will sustain you. I just want to speak that over you and over your life. Looking back in that time, God taught me so much about fasting and about prayer and about how drawing near to Him is the best thing that you can do. And it also taught me so much about what do I place above God? Am I placing my wish for a child above God? Is it more important than the will that He has for me? Is it more important than the plans He has for me? What sits on the throne of our life? Is it Christ, or is it this wish to have a child, have a family? That really hit me. I did end up going to the gynecologist in January and she told me what is so confusing when you're going through infertility, that I was completely healthy. My whole body was completely healthy. There was no reason why I shouldn't be conceiving. There was nothing that they could find that was, you know, not good. I remember a month later in February coming home one evening from work and just all the emotions coming out. On that evening, my husband and I both grieved the fact that we hadn't conceived in 2020. Little did I know though that I was actually pregnant right then. I was pregnant with Ophelia and I found out a month later in March 2021. It was completely the biggest surprise of my life. I had no idea that I was pregnant. I had no feelings or no symptoms or anything like that. I didn't feel any different. I thought the pregnancy test was broken when I took it. I could not believe that I was pregnant. And here's the thing, God hears our prayers. Not always does He answer them the way that we want Him to or the way that we thought, but He hears our prayers. And I am so convinced that because we petitioned, prayed and begged and fasted for our daughter, that is why we have her. Looking back now, I know He entrusted this journey to us so that we can pass it on. I want to pass this story on to you guys because I want you guys to know that you're not alone in this. I'm completely convinced that we only conceived because God granted us to conceive, and also that Ophelia is proof of how faithful and how good God is. I'm reminded every day when I see her of how God heard my prayer, He heard my cry, and He granted us a child, and it's such a blessing. I don't really know how to end this video, but that was our infertility story, and I hope that you could take something from this video. If you did, please leave comments down below. I would love to read about your story and like where you're at. If you haven't subscribed yet, then please do so. The button is down below. I'd also love for you to ring the bell so you're notified every time that I upload. That really helps out my channel. I hope you guys are having a great day and a great week, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!